This is why I believe Colin Albert was involved in the murder. Colin Albert lied his fucking face off.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
I do not remember.
Sending somebody flowers?
Seriously?
He had a piece of glass perched on his nose, like just wedged like a splinter would be.
That is the most retarded story I've ever heard.
Can I see what you're referring to?
I can't. That's how you know he's involved in the murder. That right there.
Your knuckles are injured, correct?
Correct.
The title of tonight's program is about Colin Albert, right?
I got word that Turtle Boy has conclusive evidence to contradict our claim that Colin Albert was in the house. Let's watch.
Justice for John O'Keefe. So what does that mean? Well, in my opinion, it means constantly reminding these people. We're not going to stop saying the names Colin Albert.
How are you?
Jennifer McCabe.
Good afternoon.
Chris Albert.
Good morning, sir.
Brian Albert.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Your Honor, and good afternoon to the jury.
Brian Higgins.
Good morning.
Michael Proctor.
Good morning, sir. No nude so far.
But we're not going to stop saying their names. And we're not going to stop speaking out about what they did.
And we're not going to stop producing these videos until the real killer,
Brian Higgins,
is brought to justice.
To John O'Keefe, because they murdered him. So to me, that's what like fighting for justice for John O'Keefe is moving forward, is just constantly calling these people murderers. I'm not going to stop. So we're here tonight to remind you guys that Colin Albert lied his fucking face off at the trial.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
I do not remember.
And where do you live, sir?
I do not know.
How long have you lived in Canada?
I do not remember.
So I want to go back, because fuck this kid. You know how because people are like, do you guys think, well, Colin Albert didn't do it? Loophole Lawyer, who's a very funny guy, very witty guy. His two thing is, Colin Albert did not kill John O'Keefe. The real person who killed John O'Keefe was
Brian Higgins.
Brian Higgins. Brian does that thing. No, he thinks it was just Higgins.
Sending somebody flowers?
And Colin Albert was not there, and Jennifer McCabe did not Google how long did I cold. Those are his two things he sticks to. Both incorrect. Both incorrect.
How dare you?
How dare you?
You know how I know Colin Albert was involved in the murder of John O'Keefe? Number one, he has no proof he wasn't there. He lied. They hid the fact that he was there forever. They never questioned him, even though he was there.
That is a good point by Turtle Boy. All the witnesses in the house never mentioned Colin Albert being there simply because he wasn't there. However, just because we make this claim, it's important that we test it. And it's important that we acknowledge other people have different opinions. And until we can conclusively say that this reason is incorrect, we have to keep Colin in as a person of interest.
Number two, Colin Albert calls Aaron Beatty at 12:33. He never calls anybody. He doesn't call people. That's not a thing 17-year-olds do.
Who's going to inform old Turtle Boy what a booty call is?
He called Aaron Beatty. Why? Aaron Beatty texted him the next day and said, why'd you call me? Aaron Beatty is a 16-year-old friend of Colin Albert's.
Why would a 17-year-old boy call a 16-year-old girl at 12:33 when he gets home? I don't know.
The daughter of Tom Beatty, who sided with Karen Reed. She texted him back the next day and was like, what's up? And he's like, never mind. So why'd he call? Why'd he call her at 12:33? Maybe it was to establish an alibi.
It is a good point. If Colin Albert was involved, he would want to establish an alibi. By making that call at 12:33, we can easily locate Colin Albert based upon the cell phone tower data. Therefore, using that as an alibi would be a big mistake.
Third reason I know they're lying is that Allie McCabe lied about her Life 360 data. Bitch, your Life 360 data shows you driving around till 1:30. You lied about it.
Life 360 is a telephone app that allows white parents to track where their kids are during the day.
Are you lying? Number four, I'm not saying Colin has like the motive. I don't buy the motive to kill John O'Keefe from Colin Albert. Like, you're not going to kill somebody because somebody told you to get off his lawn. But Colin has a history of violence. He's Mr. Tough Guy, and he's big. He's not a small kid. I don't think he could kill John O'Keefe on his own.
Here's where I disagree with Turtle Boy. Little Colin Albert, despite being in 11th grade, could potentially kill John O'Keefe. We talk about means, motive, and opportunity. When we're speaking about the ability to harm someone, that goes to means. Do you have the means to harm someone? And little Colin Albert did, despite being much smaller than John.
You don't need massive punching power to knock someone out. It's not only about how much weight is behind the punch, but also the momentum of the punch and the speed the fist or other body part is moving at. If the person being hit can't see it coming, this will also have more impact and there is more chance of a knockout. That's because our muscles tense in a way to take the blow when we see it coming. A sucker punch by a boxer on a civilian's jaw or chin will 100% of the time lead to a knockout.
I am certain he was involved simply because of how hard they've tried to keep him out of it. Colin Albert lied his fucking face off during this whole trial. Let's rewatch some of Colin Albert's testimony to see just how much this motherfucker lied. And I forgot that the most incriminating thing is Chris Albert's testimony. Chris Albert testified that he left the waterfall bar at like midnight. Like he said, he's like, it takes like 5 minutes to get home. I walked home. I went upstairs.
I went up to the bedroom, took off my clothes, jumped in bed.
And then started dozing off. 15 minutes later, he says, Colin came in. Then the waterfall video comes out. It shows Chris leaving at 12:14. He couldn't have been home before 12:20. Bottom line is, according to his own story, Colin could not have gotten home before 12:45, which puts him at 34 Fairview at 12:30.
I'm not sure about Turtle Boy's math, but the good news is we can calculate when Chris Albert approximately got home. There he is leaving the waterfall at 12:13 and 44 seconds.
Does that refresh your memory as to when you left the waterfall?
Yes.
That would mean it would have been impossible for you to get home to Maple Street by 12:05 or 12:10, correct?
Correct. Waterfall to Maple's probably less than 5 minutes.
If you're leaving the bar at like close to 12:14, as indicated on the video, you're getting home somewhere around 12:19, 12:20, correct?
Roughly, yeah.
According to his own story, Colin could not have gotten home before 12:45.
And the timing is important in the first trial because we all failed to recognize Higgy Bear threatening John O'Keefe on video. We tried to pin this on someone else. They tried to use Colin as the scapegoat. It just wasn't working. It was a huge distraction and almost got Karen convicted. In order for Colin to have the opportunity to kill John O'Keefe, he would have to be there at 12:24 when John O'Keefe arrived. Turtle Boy's claiming that Chris Albert leaving the bar at 12:14 is evidence that Colin Albert was at 34 Fairview at 12:45. I don't see the connection.
When you came home, you would agree with me that your son, Colin Albert, was not home.
Not when I first got home.
That's an important statement in the timeline. If he leaves the waterfall at 12:14 and it takes him 5 minutes to get home, that means that at 12:19, Colin Albert is not at his house.
I think your testimony was 10 minutes after you got home, he opened the bedroom door.
I think that's what I said, yeah.
Information that you had as
If that's true, the latest little Colin would have been home was 12:30.
to where Colin was that night, is that something that came via text as well, or was that a phone call or some other type of communication?
I knew he was there. Could have been a phone call.
This is Allie McCabe, daughter of Hen McCabe, and she was the one driving little Colin around that night.
Not sure.
Were there a variety of different ways that you would have communicated with Colin around that time?
Yes, there's other apps as well. Yes.
When you leave from there, where is it that you went?
His house and then my house.
You dropped him off at his house and then you went home?
Correct.
As far as your drive from the residence in Fairview to Colin's house, did you make any stops along the way?
No.
Allie testified that she arrived at 34 Fairview to pick little Colin up at approximately 12:10 a.m.
About how long a drive is it from Fairview to Colin's new house?
7 minutes, 5 minutes.
When I first saw the text messages, I thought they were fake. The defense eventually allowed them in as evidence, and we were able to obtain screenshots purportedly from both phones, little Colin and Allie's, and both have the same exact messages in the same exact time. 12:10 a.m. is when Allie claims she's at 34 Fairview.
The conversation about I'm here gave the time 12:10 a.m., correct?
Correct.
Are you aware how easy it is to change that time?
No.
Are you aware that all you need to do is go from settings to general, and then there's a date and time that you can alter?
Objection.
Are you aware of that?
No.
What you talking about, Yannetti? Because they failed to recognize that it was Higgy Bear and not Colin that killed John O'Keefe, they tried to force this narrative, and now you see it's getting embarrassing. They're questioning Allie on her ability to know how to change the time on a text message. We know Yannetti doesn't know how to do that, and for certain, most people don't.
I didn't know that was a thing.
You know that when you set up your iPhone, you have to choose a time zone, correct?
Correct.
And you always choose the New York time zone, because that's where Boston is, right?
Correct.
Are you aware that if you go into settings, general, and then date and time, you can change the time zone to wherever you're going?
I guess. Once I set my phone up, I have no reason to change the time.
In addition to changing the time zone, you literally can choose any time that you want. You could make 1:45 a.m., 12:10 a.m. in about 3 seconds. Did
Objection.
you know that?
Do you know that? Did you know that?
No.
At 12:06 and 55 seconds on January 29th, you left that home circle, correct?
Correct.
The home circle Paisan's speaking about is the Life 360 app data. It shows a circle for which she could potentially be in. At 12:06 a.m., it indicates she left her home circle heading towards 34 Fairview.
On January 29th of 2022 at 12:23 and 14 seconds, you completed a 7-mile drive where your top speed was 42 miles an hour. Does that make sense?
Correct.
And that lines up perfectly with picking little Colin up and dropping him off.
And then after arriving home again on January 29th of 2022 at 12:29 and 29 seconds, you completed a 12-mile drive on January 29th of 2022 at 12:31 and 22 seconds. Did you not?
No.
Huh? Between 12:29 and 12:31 a.m., Allie drove 12 miles? If that Life 360 data was accurate, Allie was driving 382 miles per hour.
And then you left home on January 29th of 2022 at 1:08 and 15 seconds, right?
I don't believe so. Can I see what you're referring to?
Record 16 is what I just asked you about, but feel free to read the whole thing.
Thank you.
Did that help refresh your memory on where you were that night?
No.
The major problem with Life 360 is that the location can be very unreliable if the phone is not connected to a Wi-Fi source and there's different interference in the area.
What, if any, knowledge do you have as far as the accuracy of sort of the timestamps that are contained within that app?
Well, I'm not sure, but on the photo he showed me, it says like turn Wi-Fi on. So that like remind Allie to turn Wi-Fi on.
Life 360 will prompt the user to turn Wi-Fi on when it cannot obtain a reliable source to identify where the person is. And that's exactly what was happening during this time. Although it is very possible that Allie was cruising around Canton at over 300 miles an hour.
So that could have affected the accuracy.
Do you want to stick with that?
I'm just trying to recollect what I, thinking it over. So obviously it was a little bit longer.
Because you actually woke up when he opened the bedroom door, correct?
I don't think so.
Did you not just testify before this jury that you fell asleep and that your son Colin opened the bedroom door and woke you up to say goodnight?
Yeah, I guess that's what I said.
Okay.
So Chris's own story puts Colin in 34 Fairview at the time.
It does?
Yes.
And Mr. Albert, you needed something as simple as a ride. You were just asking Allie to give you a ride. Is that right?
Yes.
And that's because you said that it's common for you guys to text back and forth. You just texted her, hey, you can get me now. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you texted if it's easier. And then she said, okay, I'm dropping people off. And there was an exchange back and forth.
Yeah.
And there were at least 8 texts between the two of you, if you just count them up real quick, just about getting picked up.
Yeah.
You can get me now if easier. Get you from where? He doesn't say, come get me at 34 Fairview Road. This could easily be, come get me at Mikey Leonidas' house, because that's where he was before. Wouldn't it make sense that he would want to leave Mikey Leonidas' house when Brian Albert and everyone else is getting home from the bar? Wouldn't that make the most sense? Why would he want to leave right when his fun uncle's getting home? His story makes no sense whatsoever. And if your story makes no sense in a murder trial,
guilty.
It's probably because you were involved in the murder. This is why I believe Colin Albert was involved in the murder. Like, none of this adds up. But you know what does add up? If he's saying, you can get me now, because he's like, Mikey Leonidas is dying down at 11:54. And he's like, I want to go to my Uncle Brian's house, because the party's just getting started over there. My Uncle Brian and his friends are fucking wild, and they let me drink there underage. So I'm going to get Allie to come pick me up here, and we can both go there and party. That would make sense, wouldn't it?
What do you notice about your right hand?
It's cut up.
Your knuckles are injured, correct?
Correct.
And when it's loose on your knuckles, that's going to cause the friction. And it's the friction is part of the reason why you get grazed knuckles.
The final argument Turtle Boy had to prove little Colin was in the house was a picture of his bruised knuckles.
You see there? That's loose. So now when I punch the bag, that can move up and down. And if that's moving up and down, the friction from the movement from the punches is what is grazing your knuckles. If you're hitting the bag and the bag is like spinning, you're hitting it incorrect. The bag shouldn't be spinning if you're throwing a hook. Even I see sometimes beginners, they'll be throwing straight punches and they'll be skimming the bag. If you're skimming the bag and it's going around, again, you're grazing, your hand is moving around in the glove.
Every experienced fighter will look at Colin's hands and recognize they're not from punching somebody in the head. The hands we're looking at here are from an actual fighter after fighting an entire boxing match. Notice there are no cuts because there is no friction if you're taped up properly. And notice all the swelling that is on each hand. Colin Albert's 3 knuckles have distinct abrasions on them. Those are not caused by punching something, they're caused by friction. Try and place 3 of your knuckles on your face at one time and you won't be able to do it. That's why an experienced fighter will tell you straight away that those injuries are not from actually hitting anything. They are indicative of rubbing up against something that is flat, not a face, something that is flat, like the surface or a flat board.
In the state of Kansas, in his home state.
This is a bare knuckle fight that took place over 10 minutes. Let's see if we can determine if their hands are similar to Colin's or not.
I put these bones to domes, baby!
This fighter's a righty, and as you can see on all the knuckles, there are no cuts. There's some swelling, but no cuts, and that's after 10 minutes of punching. And when you compare it to Colin's matching abrasions on all 3 knuckles, it's very clear. Little Colin didn't get injured in a fight. And here's a close-up of the fighter's right knuckles after 10 minutes of punching. And when you compare it to little Colin's hand, it's clear he didn't get him from a fight.
How'd you get those injuries? Here we go.
I was at a party, my house party my senior year. And it was, I remember it being icy out. It was kind of like a steep hill of a driveway. And I was walking up the driveway and I slipped down the driveway and I tried to catch myself, but I had something in my left hand. So I tried to brace myself with my right hand and I ended up sliding a little bit down the driveway.
That's how you know he's involved in the murder. That right there.
Guilty.
On the right side, there was a very small laceration or a small tear associated with that. Both eyes had some swelling.
This is Dr. Scortibello in the first trial, and she indicates that John had a small cut above his right eye. That's because he wasn't beat or punched multiple times. He was hit one time in the face and he fell back, hitting the back of his head, making it impossible for Colin to have received 3 uniform abrasions from one punch.
To them, and then on the nose, there were 2 abrasions, 2 scrapes. One was small at 0.5 centimeters. The other one was 1 centimeter, and it was linear. And I noted them right there.
That is the most retarded story I've ever heard. It's about to get exposed, obviously.
He had a piece of glass perched on his nose, like just wedged like a splinter would be.
This is Karen describing a piece of glass that was embedded in John's nose when she found them.
And I just pulled it, and as soon as I pulled it, it just gushed blood down his face. His eyes were purple, but this eye was split, and it was dripping blood from a cut.
And her description matched exactly what Dr. Scortibello indicated using this diagram.
Down his face.
There's no way that story's real. No way. Clearly that came from a fight. So why not just say, I got it from getting in a fight?
So you fell onto, what, pavement, asphalt?
Yes.
And you braced yourself and you fell your entire body weight by putting your right hand down in a fist, and you injured your right fist, just the top of the knuckles on your right fist when you fell down.
Correct.
Seriously?
I can't. Hold on. One more time.
Palms down? Seriously?
That's the question. Seriously?
Sometimes snarky comments are effective by an attorney. However, when you're trying to discredit a witness, you don't want to be the one making the jokes. You want that witness's testimony to clearly indicate they're being deceptive. And unfortunately for Alan here, they were trying to force the wrong person into being the murderer. Colin simply wasn't. We just went through the 4 reasons Turtle Boy gave, proving little Colin was in the house. None of them were convincing enough to put Colin as a person of interest. However, that does not mean we don't welcome these types of criticism. We need to do it, we need to analyze, and we need to make sure when we make a claim that it's accurate. If Karen Reed's attorneys believe that little Colin had anything to do with the murder of John O'Keefe, then he will be named as a defendant in her civil lawsuit. It doesn't matter how many assets little Colin has. Failing to name a defendant for which you believe has even 1% to do with the death of John O'Keefe would be legal malpractice and unethical. Unlike most law tubers, we here welcome criticism, we welcome theories, we want to test them and make sure that we're accurate before we say the real killer,
Brian Higgins,
has yet to be arrested. But no matter what, we are not going to stop producing these videos until the real killer,
Brian Higgins,
is brought to justice. This crime was very simple to solve because it took place within a very small area over a very short period of time with a very limited amount of suspects. One or more of these 10 people has to be the killer of John O'Keefe. That's how easy this is. Once you remove the kids and the McCabe's, you're down to just 3 suspects: Brian Albert, Higgy Bear, and Chloe. Since Chloe's a good dog, she didn't do it, so that leaves just 2 suspects, Brian Albert and Higgy Bear. But of the 2 Brians, only one had the means, motive, and opportunity to kill John O'Keefe, and that's our old cuddly but violent Higgy Bear. Once we had all the facts and didn't jump to conclusions, do you see how easy it was to solve this crime?
I never heard of any broad name Karen Reed.
The bigger the cocks, the harder it falls.